tip. And so, Steve, Sanji, Milet, right? Milet. They're here, and they're authors of a book, Talk Straight. Damn it, Talk Straight. It's a book on relationships, and so, man, thank you all for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Man, this is, it's fortuitous that, not fortuitous that he passed, but it's fortuitous that we think about one of the great voices when it comes to love songs, Mr. James England. And so, again, we send that song out to everyone. Because sometimes I think we forget about the magic that got us together in the first place. You know, I mean, that romance thing.
Yes. We have been married for 10 honeymoon years, so we have kept our relationship going, and those love songs have been a part of it.
10 honeymoon. Okay.
And I would agree with it, absolutely.
Like you got a choice. Yeah, that's right, baby. You're right, baby. You're right. That's right. I love you. You're right. Get away from what? Now, I did just a little something off air. So, Sanji, this is your
second marriage.
Steve, this is your
number 4. As Sandy like to say, number last.
It better be.
And I will agree with that, absolutely.
So we gotta just kind of, I want to get, well, let's talk about, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna put you on the spot. So, how did you meet?
We met online. The only way people meet here in the 21st century.
That's right.
Blackpeoplemeet.com.
I had been on there about a year and a half, and Sonja had just got on there. And in brief, the story goes, I was strolling through, as I like to call them, all the usual suspects, the people I had been looking at for a year and a half. And I had let my membership expire, and I saw Sonja's picture on there. And so I paid for another month just to talk to Sonja. And she happened to be online when I re-upped my membership, and so I IM'd her, and she IM'd right back.
Now, I was with 4 of my girlfriends, and we were just testing out the waters of being online when he showed up. And his picture, my girlfriend's he was like a playboy. He was on a horse in the ocean, riding through the ocean, and it said, "Let's ride." That was his profile picture.
All right, man. First of all, do you own a horse?
No, I don't. I was actually renting a horse in Jamaica.
That's why I love black people. We gonna make it happen. Okay, so you own a horse, and you're in Jamaica doing your Dexter St. John. There you were riding the horse. Okay. So you saw the picture.
And my girlfriend's like, "Let's talk to him." I'm like, "I'm not going to talk to him. He's a playboy." And so then I said, "Well, you ain't going to do it on my computer since it's my profile." And I took it from her, and we started chatting. And they were feeding me questions. So he had no idea that it was a girls' night setup.
Okay. So let's see. Are you compatible? Astrological sign?
Ooh. Astrological.
I have no idea. We never looked at it that way.
I'm actually a Capricorn.
Okay. And I'm an Aquarius.
And
he says no.
I guess they are. But they used to be, what's your sign?
Yeah.
And remember the song Float On?
Oh, yeah.
Everybody go through, I'm a Cancer. Okay, so you meet online. So I got to ask, now it's going to really get hard for you. So you decide that you're going to meet. Okay. Do you remember if there was a song? What was the song when you two met? Either when you got there, when you were leaving, played in the car?
I don't recall the song at all.
No, but what we do with songs is we have our playlist, and that playlist reminds me of how much he loves me every single day. We use that playlist to encourage one another, and whenever we're together, our kids hate it because we will always dance and we will sing and we will be having a good time so that they can see what real black love looks like. So we use music a lot in our day-to-day.
So you went, and how long did the courtship last?
About 11 and a half months.
Okay.
I told him I wouldn't marry him before, or at least get engaged before 6 months, because I needed to see what he was really like, and you can't fake it for longer than 6 months in my book. So I had to wait a little bit.
Still faking it, you know. Just...
And so what happened after we started dating, I went on her profile and shut it down because I was serious about her, and I also shut mine down.
Okay, that's what you do.
And you know, that's one of the things
this is my woman.
Yeah, yeah. That
she ain't out there anymore.
Now,
Right.
mind you, it was only 3 days after we got together. I mean, we saw each other 3 days after that first initial contact, and we have been in love ever since.
She's actually my best friend, my confidant. We enjoy being together, working together, writing this book together. Taught us a lot of things about each other. We're both strong personalities.
So, it is, you know, statistically it shows that people who tend to get married younger, those relationships or those marriages there's a higher divorce rate, and there's some good reason for that, right? Mm-hmm. You haven't really experienced life, especially if you talk about you're under 25, mind's not fully formed, and so this idealized sense of what you think love should be. So, do you think it's an advantage? That you had a couple of marriages.
Well,
that you kind of been to the rodeo a couple of times, but that experience piece, I think.
Absolutely, that plays a big part. You know, my friends would joke on me and say 3 strikes you out. I just say I keep swinging for the fence. Okay. And obviously, I hit a home run this last go round. And you learn some things as you go through life, but you have to be purposeful in what you're looking at, and honestly look at yourself and see what you're doing to help create those situations. Because I don't care why you may have gotten divorced, both people were at fault to some degree. And when you learn to look within and build on that, you have to know what you want, you know, and understand if it's realistic, and don't settle for anything less.
You know, it's interesting, you were talking about the younger generation and their idea of marriage, or anyone's idea of marriage. That's one of the things we cover in our book, because people have their idea. And I think what made us successful was that we spoke about it. We talked about it. We explored all avenues of a relationship and had conversations about it. So I knew what he was expecting. He knew what I was expecting. And even today, people change. We keep talking about it.
But when we're older, we're a little bit more cynical. No, really. When you said that you wanted to be absolutely sure, if and not knowing you, if I went back to if you would have met him at 21, you would have put in that level of due diligence, right? Because he said he loved me, I love him, it's on. Mm-hmm. Only to find out, maybe not so much.
And that's what happened with husband number one. Mm-hmm. I didn't have an idea. I didn't know about communication. I made several mistakes, and from those mistakes I learned from them. And that's what we say with talking with the conversation in your head. Once you have an idea and you find out that's not necessarily true, or it can't serve me today, being able to get new information and change those thought patterns, that's how you grow in a relationship and continue to have bliss, as we call it.
And you use a word that jumps out to me when you keep saying relationship, which I think is significant on a lot of levels. A friend of mine was talking to his stepson, and he said, you need to remember that there are 2 people in that relationship. That's what makes it a relationship. And that sometimes, look, the reality with human beings is that we're selfish. Mm-hmm. I mean, whether we want to overly admit that, but we're selfish. And so when we get into relationships, it's learning how to be less selfish.
That's an interesting concept. Because we say to put yourself first
in the second
our book.
You can put that in. You've got a chapter from Keith in there.
In our definition of bliss, the first S is about putting yourself first. A lot of people, when they get into that relationship, don't know what they want. They haven't thought about it. They don't know what the possibilities are. And so by understanding what I need and putting myself first, then I can communicate it clearly and attract what I want.
You interchange these words, want and need, but they're two different things, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
I think when you talk about what I need, I know what I want. What I want might not be what I need, though, right?
Correct.
Well, that's true. One of the things, I'm going to switch it up a little bit, is what I will accept. And understanding what I deserve and be willing to give that as well. What has helped me tremendously is figuring out what it is that makes me happy. What it is that I want, need, and what I will accept. Knowing what those boundaries are, it makes the search very easy. And if you're willing to give, not only receive, but like my wife said, put yourself first. A lot of times, we approach things from a biblical perspective. It says, love thy neighbor as thyself. So that means you have to love yourself first in order to know how to love your neighbor. So as your neighbor. And so when you and learn how to do self-care, one of the chapters in the book, chapter 6, love the one you're with. It's about learning how to love yourself. But when you love yourself, you teach people how to treat you. You don't accept bogus type treatment.
But what happens to, and I don't, I tell people that I'm not an advocate or a foe of marriage. I think because sometimes differentiate between relationship within a marriage, but a marriage is a legal contract between two individuals. We're dealing primarily with property and we're dealing with prodigy children. I mean, that is what marriage is. Now, the relationship in the marriage, that will then, whether or not that enterprise will be successful or not. But, as you know, when you go to divorce court,
they want to divide everything.
Right, but they're not going to ask you if you love each other. They want to know, can you work it out? Right? Okay. Well, I know all about this. I've been down here a couple times. Right? But that becomes important. And you even see a lot of times where, we'll spend $15,000 for a wedding, and I performed enough of them, and I tell them, you know what? I hate to break this to you, but there's this thing called marriage coming after the wedding, which is very different than you doing what you're doing for a wedding vow that takes all of 3.5 minutes, but it could be a lifetime. And so I think when we talk about relationships within our marriages, and you use the word I heard communication. How do you do that? There is a woman that who gave me and my wife some great advice. She said that everything that comes up don't have to come out. Because we was, I'm feeling it, I'm gonna say it. And now you trying to undo the damage. As you see those words, I wish I could bring it back. So so you talk about that. Talk about communication in terms of what does that mean, or what does it mean for you two? How's it been made you successful?
One of the things that really helps us, she is my best friend. And if you think about a best friend, you're able to express yourself openly without being afraid of judgment. And your friend you give a little more leeway to somebody that you don't really know. Your friend, you like these people. And so when you like a person, you give them a little more grace, a little more allowances, and you don't take things so personal. And so I think one of the cornerstones for our relationship is that she's my best friend.
And if you don't have that person as a best friend yet, because some people have gotten into some relationships that they weren't sure, it's having a talk with your person you're in relationship about certain things. How I feel about money. We blended our children together. So I have 2 and he has 3. I have a boy and a girl, and I have an Olivia and he had an Olivia. So we have 2 Olivia in our adult children.
Okay, so now I'm gonna do this because this is something I discovered, right? All right, so what you have in common Number one is Olivia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. I would see if you got three things in common.
3 things in common.
No, because I was thinking about one day, I hadn't even noticed this, right? Anybody know me and my wife? No, we got a shoe game. We got a shoe game. We love shoes. I mean, that was one of the things that attracted to me the first time I saw her. I can tell you what she was wearing. She was wearing knee-high boots. I remember what she was wearing, right? So that was number one. So my number one is shoes. Okay, you got Olivia. All right,
we
let's
got
go.
others. All right.
We got others, right. With
the kids, we would talk about, our rearing styles, things that were going on.
Were they under 18 at this point?
Yes, they were preteens when we got together. We would also read books and talk about what we read. We have an Audible account. It's where they read the books to you. We share it. He'd be driving to work listening. I drive to work listening. And then we come home and, I heard something on that tape that we were just listening to. What are your thoughts on it? Or this made me feel. The book or the reading helped us to have a common language to communicate our feelings, our process of what we were going through. But we also lived by, at least I think, we never went to bed angry. We would have a conversation. We might interreflect for a moment, but it was knowing that the other person had our best interests at heart, that we were on the same page and that we had the same goals.
No, I laugh about that because the scriptures say that be angry but to sin not, and don't let the sun set on your anger. I think I've violated that a couple of times, but I found out why you don't benefit from that. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying in terms of, it's the ideal. The reality is, okay. So you have books. Are you similar religious background?
Well, there's no short answer for any question you ask me, but I will give you.
That's why it's called talk radio.
I'll give you the synopsis. I had been a licensed ordained minister for about 17 years or so.
Okay, but what I'm asking is, are you both denominationally?
When we started out, yes.
Are you Christians?
Yes, we are.
We believe in God and we serve a higher being.
And are you a member of a particular denomination? Do you share that?
No.
Okay.
Well, what we share is that we're not members of
No, that's fine. That and I'm not saying that you should be. It is because there are people who are Muslims and Christians and have a great relationship because they take I'm sorry.
So when we met, I belonged to a Baptist church, and him being so knowledgeable in biblical explanations and the church and so forth, he enlightened me on what I was listening to. And that love of spirituality is what we really share.
Okay.
And so we have almost daily conversations about religion, and he has opened my eyes to many different types of people and their love of God.
So are you politically?
Well, when we met, yes, we are. She was not so politically inclined. At the time we met, I was somewhat of a political junkie.
Okay.
And I had worked with the Obama campaign, many different facets, with the door-to-door, the radio calls, and so forth, and sharing that. But I think an openness and a respect for not only politics, but for religion, allowing people to be who they are and to have their own opinion, and to not be so offended so easily. I think that gives us a flow with one another, because I respect what she believes and what she says, and she respects what I believe. We had an interesting experience in India. We were fortunate to travel there. We went to a Baha'i temple, and there were all religions there. I mean, everything from Hindu, Muslim, Sikhs, agnostics, atheists. Everyone was there, but what was so beautiful about this time of meditation and fellowship is that no one was pushing their brand of religion. It was okay to just be. It was okay to just serve the Creator in the way He saw fit, which I thought was a beautiful thing.
They use the word here, I think, is significant respect. That's good. You're listening to Community Voice. I'm your host, Keith Pierce. We're joined in studio by Stephen and Sanji Millette. They wrote the book.